segment, we're going to be doing a panic or not panic segment. We're going to go through everyone here. We're going to give a team or a player or anyone in the organization that should be panicking right now. And then after that, we're going to do the same thing with someone who shouldn't panic. They're going to be fine. So for my first team for panic, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, guys, the Bengals have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They should not be 0-2. They're 0-2. And they're not just 0-2. They're 0-2 against divisional opponents. So let's say they lose one game to the Pittsburgh Steelers when they play the Pittsburgh Steelers us. The best they can do is split in the division. And that is not good for any team, especially a team that is supposed to be a Super Bowl caliber team. Can't be splitting your division. And it's one of the hardest divisions in the NFL. So I'm almost certain that there is going to be a team that sweeps the Bengals in this division. It's just going to happen. This team, as much as a lot of us would have thought, is going to be a very high-scoring team. I think a lot of their wins this year are going to come from nitty-gritty wins. Jamar Chase hasn't looked like himself. He just hasn't. Joe Burrow, we saw earlier on in the preseason, tweaked his calf. And some news reporting from Adam Schefter was Zach Taylor told some of the reporters that Joe Burrow might not be ready to play on Monday night against the Rams. And so that's really all you got to say about that. Joe Burrow is not 100%. And if he's not going to play next week, that's a loss. I mean, that's a loss. It's Joe Burrow. It's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And you're paying him all this money to look like he's been? Come on, no. The Bengals should be in full panic mode because if Joe Burrow goes out with a calf injury, you just broke the bank on Joe Burrow to wear those cool sunglasses on the sidelines. I'm sorry, but I'm panicking if I'm the Bengals. They got to figure it out.
Okay, so for my panic, it's not a team, it's not a certain player, it's the ownership. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers ownership. And over the years, you have a situation with Matt Canada as your offensive coordinator. And Steeler fans are all saying the same exact thing. We've seen Matt Canada. He is yet to have a 400-yard game on offense at all. And multiple teams have done 300-yard games multiple times in a season. The Steelers, I think, only have one or none with Matt Canada as offensive coordinator. And nothing is changing with ownership. They aren't going out and saying, let's make a change. They're just competent with Matt Canada out there being the offensive coordinator, and they're not letting Tomlin go out there and say, hey, you're out of here. They need changes, and they're not going to – I want to say the Steelers will win a bunch of games. I want to see the Steelers make the playoffs. But until Matt Canada is gone, until ownership goes out and says, hey, you're not a good coach. And there shouldn't be a reason analysts are calling the Steelers a Saturday-ish offense. That's basically saying you're a college football team. College football teams can go out there and get more yardage on offense, and it's just not working. And I honestly have the theory that Pickett was calling the plays in the preseason. Then the first game of the season comes out, we see the Matt Canada special jet sweep for a loss of massive yardage. We saw Jalen Warren, a weird shovel pass to him. That never works. We saw that with Claypool last year, and now it's magically returned. I'm taking ownership needs to panic for the Pittsburgh Steelers because if changes are not made, this team's going to be a disaster.
All right, so I'm thinking out of the box here. I think who needs to start panicking is Big Ben because Kenny Pickett is so good that he is going to take Ben Roethlisberger's spot as the all-time greatest quarterback in team history. You saw him in the preseason, 13 for 15 in the preseason, 199 yards. What are you guys laughing at? Yo, put the camera on them. Yo, switch over to them because they're laughing. I don't think this is funny. You guys are laughing. You think this is a game. This is my entire life. I take this so seriously. I put my heart, my blood, my sweat, my tears into this. And you guys are sitting there laughing right now?
I'm not laughing.
Anyway.
Continue.
Big Ben needs to panic. He's cooped up in the basement doing that podcast. But I got news for you. Kenny's about to start a podcast too. And he's going to be better at that also. So, yeah, Kenny he had a tough week one, but he's going to continue to get better, continue to grow, and Big Ben, watch out, because, number 8 over 7.
All right, I'm going to pick it's not I don't know. I'm going with the Giants that they need to panic. As we know, their division went from one of the worst to one of the best. They got the Cowboys, the Eagles, even the Commanders are doing well. They're all 2-0. Giants are only 1-1, but they just had Barkley go down. Yeah, it's only a few weeks, but those few weeks, that's gonna be a big impact. And Daniel Jones, he's average, if that. So I think the Giants definitely have to start panicking because their division is too good for them to not.
Okay. I have two because Nathan kind of took mine. But number one, I think Mike Tomlin should be in full-on panic mode because, first of all, I hate him. That's number one. I hate Mike Tomlin.
Why?
Because, first of all, he always has these mediocre seasons. Like, he's always like, oh, we went like 9-8, or like we did this. Like, okay, you're like barely scraping by every year, and like you're like, oh, we've had all these winning seasons. Okay, you're barely scraping by like every year. Like, I'm so sick of him. Like, panic,
Thank
Mike
you.
Tomlin, panic Mike Canada,
Mike Canada?
or Matt Canada. I can't talk because I'm so mad. Okay, panic. Number two is Brownie the Elf because he is the worst NFL mascot in this whole whole NFL ever. Brownie the Elf.
He don't even do flips.
Brownie the Elf is the worst mascot. He should be panicking because of how bad he is. Every time I watch the Browns on their field, I just want to punch him in the face.
Straight up.
Violence. Violence ensues me every time I see
Violence.
Brownie the Elf. Brownie the Elf
All right.
or Mike Tomlin. Two of my least favorites, for sure.
All right.
Can I respond?
No.
You're not gonna
No.
disrespect my head.
Keeping go through.
So I don't know. I mean, it was a bit of a toss-up, and Maddie touched on the Giants. The only reason I'm not saying Daniel Jones is because he just got paid this offseason, so he should not be panicking at all. However, he should be panicking is Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Had the first overall pick last year. A lot of people waved it off as, oh, it was Fields' first season. Went out, used that first round pick to get a ton of weapons for him, as well as getting an offensive lineman to help with him. Has a good tight end, has more on the outside, and has done nothing. His reads have been terrible this season. He is being everything that stereotypical Ohio State quarterbacks are supposed to be. And genuinely, I mean, I don't see a future where Justin Fields stays on this team unless he turns it around now. But he needs to start panicking because he's got to wake up. This team is not going to be putting up with him for much longer, and we said it before filming, and I'll give full credit over there to the booth or to the desk that if they get the number one overall pick, Caleb Williams is a Bear, and they move on from him immediately. He was supposed to be the answer. He's not, and just like Trey Lance, they're going to move on from him.
So now we're going to go on to the not panic. So I'm going to stick with another team that I'm going to go with here. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, they are 0-2. They're in a tough division, but I really do think that Kirk Cousins, Big Kirko, he's going to get it done. And I love this team. I love Justin Jefferson. Alexander Madison has shown that he's pretty good. I know he's struggled for the first 2 weeks, but TJ Hawkinson, they have a stacked offense, as Alex mentioned in the prior segment. They have lost a lot of defensive assets. But again, I just think that offense is so powerful, and when they explode, I mean, it's crazy. But I think the Vikings should not panic. If you're a Vikings fan, you're going to be fine. I still think you're going to win the division. I'm really high on the Vikings.
Okay, so my not panic is going to be different here because it is a team that is not going to be good this year. I am actually going to say the Arizona Cardinals should not be panicking because, and you got to hear me out here, they are not going to be good, but they acquired the Texans' first-round pick in the draft last year, so the Texans can get Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud, and both those picks. So if you're in the situation of you're a Cardinals fans, you might have been like, why did we do that? Well, this year coming up, they are probably going to be the worst team in the league. They don't have Kyler Murray right now, and there's been reports I've seen like maybe they can move on from Kyler Murray. What's the situation there? Caleb Williams. And if you have the Texans pick, say they're number 2 overall, who's there? Marvin Harrison Jr., Ohio State wide receiver, who's going to be probably the best receiver in the upcoming draft class, which I know that's a whole year away almost. But the Arizona Cardinals are in a situation where it's going to be all about the youth movement, and they have the best potential to use the draft capital they've gained from the Houston Texans, who should have kept a lot of that draft capital. They took a gamble to go get Will Anderson. They took a gamble to get all these guys. But the Arizona Cardinals are in a good situation. Their fans, I know, they're going to be upset that they are going to stink. They are going to be last place. They have potential to get 1 or 2 wins this year because I know as a Steelers fan, I respect Josh Dobbs, but they're not going to do anything with Josh Dobbs. And we don't know if Kyler Murray honestly hasn't been good at all either. He's been kind of average. I want to see how he comes back after his injury. I don't think the Arizona Cardinals and their fan base should be too angry because they're in a situation where they can use draft picks to continue to build their future. And you see it in other sports like baseball, you see it in hockey, you see it in basketball. The younger they are, the more you can get good in the future. You see it the Sacramento Kings right now. They're one of the better teams in the NBA because they've built up those draft picks. They use the capital to their advantage, and boom, they're good now. So I think the Cardinals can be in a situation for years to come, but it's going to come after this year. So I'm taking the Cardinals as they should not be panicking.
Okay. First of all, I have a Joshua Dobbs jersey, so don't ever disrespect him like that. No, I'm just playing. Okay. The team I'm going to pick to not panic is, and this is completely unbiased, but I'm picking the Steelers. I think last week was not our fullest potential. It was not our best showing. And I think last week was also more about San Francisco than it was about us. We haven't really seen what this offense is capable of with Kenny Pickett hopefully improving. I know we didn't see it last week, and I know he looked pretty bad, but like he was concussed, right? I'm telling you, he was concussed. Like he was concussed. So I just think Kenny's gonna take strides and get better. Like George Pickens was really barely involved at all. We couldn't establish a run game. We haven't even seen like most of our draft picks like Broderick Jones, Darnell Washington. He was out there, but he didn't have any catches. So I think tonight, like when they play the Browns, is probably one of the more important days that the Steelers have had in a really long time because this will tell us a lot about how our season's going to go. If we play poorly tonight, then it might be time to start looking to 2024. But I think we're going to play good. We're going to beat the Browns. I think we're going to beat them by 20 points. Kenny Pickett's going to, finally pass for more than one touchdown a game, and maybe he won't throw an interception. So I think we're going to be all right. Madison?
Okay. I feel like my answer might sound kind of weird because, who am I to say? But I don't think the Chiefs do not have to panic. Although they had their first game that wasn't that good, like I just said, they always seem to pull it out. So even though they haven't had the best few games, they're I don't know, they're just always that team that is really good. And Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, I don't know, no reason for them to panic because they're just them. I don't know. I can't explain it.
I want to say that, like Mario said, the Steelers don't have to panic, but at the same time, they did really well in preseason, and I just feel like that first game was just so, hard to come back from. They didn't do anything that they did in preseason in that game. It was just really rough. So I want to go ahead and I'm going to say the Bengals don't have to panic because I feel like Joe Burrow is going to pull through. And, yeah, I'm going to say the Bengals.
Fair. I think, I don't want to just say my favorite team, but I will say I don't think that the Eagles have anything to panic about. And I've seen a lot of stuff come out about, look, this team is going to have to face one of their toughest schedules in recent memory. This team is coming out here, and again, this is the NFC. This is, not Steelers territory at all. But, coming out, and there's a lot of stuff coming around the NFC that the Eagles are a shell of what they used to be. They got younger on the defensive line, and there are question marks. Avonte Maddox is done for the season. That's a deep slot guy, and there isn't a cornerback that can clearly fill in. There's a lot of things about the Eagles. There's a lot of question marks. But I think, again, like I said in the beginning, they shouldn't be panicking. I think that Dallas is going to I feel like Dallas is going to rack up the wins this year. And I think that a lot of the NFC East is going to look pretty good against them. And I think a lot of the teams are going to look good against them. But this is a team that wins when it counts. I think they have the grittiness that they can draw games out and control momentum with their defensive line. And again, I wouldn't panic when Dallas gets out to a 6-1 start. I wouldn't panic when you lose 3 straight against the Niners, Chiefs, and Bills in the second half of the season. I wouldn't panic. This is a team that needs to go through those tough games to become an actual contender.
Preach.
Yep.
Straight up.
Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Big Hit. It's going to do it from us today, and we'll see you next time.